Chapter 1989. A group of people walked in from the periphery of the land of the fallen immortals. Their imposing manner was vast and mighty, extremely swift and fierce. Seeing this, the surrounding crowd immediately retreated to the sides, revealing a path for them to pass through. It's the people from beast-taming King's Valley. The surrounding people discussed one after another. Yes, their imposing manner is so vigorous. These people's auras are all very strong. The strength of those demonic beasts is even stronger. As the crowd spoke, they raised their heads and looked at the group of demonic beasts descending from the sky. The group of golden-winged eagles and other demonic beasts retracted their wings and hooves, landing beside beast-taming King Guguju and the others. The surrounding people were once again pushed further away by the strong winds that rose up in all directions. A large open space was revealed. When Luo Qingtong heard this wave of discussion, she had already looked towards the place where the people from beast-taming King's Valley came in. Seeing this scene, she immediately raised her eyebrows. The way the people from beast-taming King's Valley entered was quite arrogant. And when Luo Qingtong looked towards the direction of the people from beast-taming King's Valley, at the place where the people from beast-taming King's Valley were, beast-taming King Guguju and Grand Elder and the others all had gloomy faces. Beside them was Fong Jingyu, who had an equally sinister and vicious expression. When Luo Qingtong's identity was exposed and she broke out of the encirclement with Yi Qianxian, she had already been released by beast-taming King Guguju and the others. When Luo Qingtong's identity was exposed, knowing that she was an enemy, Fong Jingyu, who had always been against Luo Qingtong, naturally had no problems. Not only that, she was more forward-looking than anyone else, knowing that there was a problem with Luo Qingtong. The Dark Elder of beast-taming King's Valley scolded beast-taming King Guguju and the others. Then with a cold face he released Fong Jingyu from the dungeon. After all, he was also at fault. How did he fall into that slut's trap? If not for this, Luo Qingtong would never have been able to enter the 12th floor of the scripture pavilion so easily, or even the 13th floor. The group of people had lost so much faith in their own valley, and even more, they were made a fool of by Luo Qingtong outside, offending a group of first-class sects and even people from the Star Alliance Hall. They really couldn't help but be angry, so it would be strange if their complexions were good right now. Father, Elder and the others said that as long as that bitch comes to participate in the opening of the land of the fallen immortals, they will be able to find her. Is this a problem? Fong Jingyu's expression was cold. She ignored the discussions around her and walked with the beast-tamer King Guguju and the others towards the entrance of the land of the deceased immortals. He asked the beast-tamer King Guguju coldly as he walked. She no longer had any affection for her father, but this didn't prevent her from dealing with Luo Qingtong together with him. That bitch. Might I? The coldness and anger in Fong Jingyu's eyes were almost tangible. That's right, unless she doesn't come. Otherwise, Elder and the others will be able to find her. The beast-tamer King Guguju's expression was cold. He didn't have the heart to have a deep father-daughter relationship with Fong Jingyu. The relationship between the two of them had long been broken. How could it be healed just like that? Moreover, although he was also at fault this time, he didn't care. Chapter 1990. If it hadn't been for the incident in the Beast Garden, they wouldn't have been fooled so deeply by Luo Qingtong. In his heart, the beast-taming King Valley Master blamed most of his mistakes on Fong Jingyu. If she didn't hate Luo Qingtong to the bone, he wouldn't have brought her to the land of the deceased immortals. When Guguju and the others entered the entrance of the land of the deceased immortals, Luo Qingtong suddenly felt that something was wrong. Beast-tamer King Guguju and the others had been looking left and right ever since they entered. Who were they looking for? Herself? Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. When she was in the Beast-tamer Valley, she had deliberately disguised herself. Yi Qianxian had changed from a fox to a human form in a hurry and revealed his true appearance. But this time his face was covered with a mask. How could the people of the Beast-tamer Valley find them? Could it be, as Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes on a mountain peak not far away, Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed. Elder and led a group of people from the Beast-tamer Valley's dark tribe to set up a formation at the entrance of the land of the deceased immortals. Elder, most of the forces in the land of the deceased immortals have gathered here. An elder of the dark tribe said in a deep voice. The aura in the land of the deceased immortals was getting weaker and weaker. It wouldn't be long before they could enter. Most of the people in the hidden world who should be here had already arrived. Good. Elder An's face was cold. He looked at the entrance of the land of the deceased immortals with cold eyes. He had to make up for the mistakes he had made before. Do it. As his voice rang out, the group of Dark Tribe members immediately poured their power into the formation they had set up. In an instant, an invisible ray of light shot up to the sky. The Dark Tribe had been in charge of the secret place in the back mountain of the Beast Tamer Valley for such a long time. It was impossible for them not to take any measures to protect the secret place. Luo Qingtong moved the holy book on the 13th floor, although nothing could be seen normally. However, a faintly discernible aura had already imperceptibly infected her. This aura could only be manifested by using a special formation of the Dark Department in conjunction with a certain technique of the Beast Taming King Valley. Furthermore, it took a very long time to do so, and the range of its detection was also limited. Unless it was in a place like the land of the fallen immortals, where everyone was gathered, it was completely useless. Because of this, the Beast Taming King's Valley had a belly full of anger. Now he could finally vent it out. As soon as this formation appeared, unless Luo Qingtong was not among the people below who were going to the land of the deceased immortals. Otherwise she definitely wouldn't be able to dodge. Just as Eldarin and the others were thinking, whoosh. The beam of light shot into the sky from the formation and landed among the group of people heading to the land of the fallen immortals. The entire entrance to the land of the deceased immortals was illuminated. This light could only be seen by those who practiced the Beast Taming King Valley's special technique. In their eyes, after the light shrouded the crowd at the entrance of the land of the fallen immortal, it landed on Luo Qingtong in the Tianyuan sect. The girl's figure was completely covered in a layer of light. Bitch. She's really here. The eyes of the Beast Taming King Guguju and the Grand Elder turned red when they saw Luo Qingtong's figure. He looked just like a furious beast from the beast battle arena. His eyes were bloodshot and his face was ferocious. Chapter 1991. At this moment a hand stopped her. Wait, check her identity first. Beast Tamer King Guguju's expression was cold. His eyes swept over the group of people from the Sky Yuan sect who were with Luo Qingtong, and they were extremely cold. This slut was actually with the people from the Sky Yuan sect? What she did to the people of Beast Tamer King's Valley, could it have been ordered by the Sky Yuan sect? And that so-called treasure map, was it in the hands of the Sky Yuan sect? As Beast Tamer King Guguju thought about this, his heart was extremely cold. As for Fang Jingyu, after seeing the people from the Sky Yuan sect who were with Luo Qingtong, her complexion turned ugly. Sky Yuan sect, a first-class sect of the hidden world. Their people from Beast Tamer King's Valley were the strongest among the first-class sections. But in this situation they had been framed by Luo Qingtong, and now they had a conflict with the people from the first-class sections. If they had to face the people from the Sky Yuan sect, they wouldn't be able to please them at all, let alone deal with Luo Qingtong. Damn it, this slut was actually from the Sky Yuan sect. Fang Jingyu's heart was filled with hatred. At this moment the people from Beast Tamer King's Valley returned from their investigation. Valley Master, we've asked clearly. The other party isn't from the Sky Yuan sect, but a new honorary guest elder from the Sky Yuan sect. She came from the secular world. The person from Beast Tamer King's Valley who was responsible for the investigation reported all the information about Luo Qingtong. It was naturally impossible for the people of the Sky Yuan sect to let outsiders know all about Luo Qingtong. The news that they announced to the public was that Luo Qingtong had saved the Grand Principal a long time ago and became his student. That was why she was accepted into the Sky Yuan sect. The title of honorary guest elder was given to her by the Tianyuan sect leader because of his love for her. This was the information that the people from Beast Tamer King's Valley had investigated. Humph. A young girl from the secular world of the True Spill continent? Beast Tamer King Guguju's eyes were ice cold. This person was actually just a young girl from the True Spill continent? What a joke. How could someone from the secular world have such ability? The other party must have another identity. The Beast Tamer King Guguju didn't believe Luo Qingtong's identity at all. Thus he didn't think about sending people to True Spill continent to take revenge. He looked coldly at Luo Qingtong. It was fine as long as the other party was not from the Sky Yuan sect. In his opinion, Luo Qingtong most likely relied on the method she used to infiltrate their Beast Taming King Valley to sneak into the Heavenly Yuan sect. Since this matter had nothing to do with the Sky Yuan sect, they could make a move on Luo Qingtong. Let's go. We'll make them hand over Luo Qingtong. At this moment, Beast Tamer King Guguju already knew Luo Qingtong's real name. He led the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley towards the Heaven Branch. Luo Qingtong had been paying attention to the movements of the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley. Seeing the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley walking towards her, she narrowed her eyes. If she didn't guess wrong, her identity should have been exposed. Although she didn't know how her identity was exposed, it was useless to say anything at this time. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. Seeing the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley walk over, she immediately had Su Yu and the others move away from her. She wasn't afraid of the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley coming to deal with her, but if Su Yu and the others were involved, it would be troublesome. Chapter 1992. Seeing the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley walking towards the Heavenly Yuan sect, the crowd broke out into discussion. Look, the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley are walking towards the Heavenly Yuan sect. What's going on? Are the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley looking for trouble with the Heavenly Yuan sect? It can't be, right? The people from the Beast Taming King's Valley are about to become the target of public criticism. Why are they looking for trouble with the Heavenly Yuan sect? Is there something wrong with their heads? The crowd lowered their voices as they discussed. They looked at the faces of the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley. They didn't think that the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley would ally with the Heavenly Yuan sect. Furthermore, the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley had rejected the goodwill of the first-rate sects and even offended the people from the Star Alliance. Why would they ally with the Heavenly Yuan sect if they didn't hand over the treasure map of the fallen immortal land? They were clearly looking for trouble. The people from the Heavenly Yuan sect also noticed the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley walking towards them. The Heavenly Yuan sect master and the rest frowned. They didn't know what the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley were planning. Beast Taming King Guguju. The Heavenly Yuan sect master walked out of the crowd and faced the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley. Behind him was a group of elders from the Heavenly Yuan sect. I wonder why the Beast Taming King Guguju has brought people here? The Heavenly Yuan sect master was cautious. The people from the Beast Taming King's Valley had always been domineering. What were they up to? This matter has nothing to do with you people from the Heavenly Yuan sect. The Beast Taming King Guguju's face was cold. After knowing that Luo Qingtong wasn't from the Heavenly Yuan sect, he no longer had any worries in his heart. Luo Qingtong? His gaze was cold as he looked at the girl standing beside the Grand President. He sneered, "Do you want to come here yourself or do you want me to personally capture you?" The moment he said this, the crowd was stunned. Amongst them included the people from the Heavenly Yuan sect. They originally thought that the people from the Beast Taming King's Valley were coming for them. Who would have thought that they were here for this young girl? Everyone looked at Luo Qingtong. The Grand Dean and Bai Suqing were also shocked. They immediately looked at Luo Qingtong. The Grand Supreme Dean lowered his voice and said, "Hey evil doctor, how did you offend this group of evil spirits?" The Grand Supreme Dean probably couldn't figure it out even if he racked his brains. Luo Qingtong didn't just offend the other party. She had turned the entire Beast Taming King Valley upside down. Not only that, but the Beast Taming King's Valley had also become the target of public criticism and offended a large group of people because of her. As for Luo Qingtong, when she heard the Beast Tamer King Guguju speak, she had already confirmed her thoughts. The other party had indeed seen through her identity. However, he only called her by her real name Luo Qingtong and not her alias, Naitai. Did he not want others to know about her identity and the grudge between them? Luo Qingtong thought for a moment and immediately understood the Beast Tamer King Guguju's plan. The other party had probably already guessed that the treasure map was with her, so he didn't want to reveal her identity to the public. This was indeed the case. Luo Qingtong was the one who framed the Celestial Palace incident. Chapter 1993. Then the Celestial Palace would definitely not let go of Luo Qingtong. At that time the matter of the treasure map would be leaked. If the people of Beast Taming King's Valley did not know about the treasure map, then so be it. Now that they knew that the map was most likely with Luo Qingtong, how could they let the matter rest? Naturally they would want to get their hands on the map. Otherwise wouldn't they have taken the blame for nothing? Beast Taming King Guguju looked at Luo Qingtong with a ferocious expression. Fang Jingyu, who was beside him, turned her gaze to Xianxia, who was beside Luo Qingtong. Was this masked man the handsome man who took Luo Qingtong away from the secret place in the back mountain that day? If he was, as long as he was willing to be with her, she could ask her father and the others to spare his life. From Fang Jingyu's point of view, Xianxia and Luo Qingtong were able to leave safely that day because they had caught beast-taming King Guguju and the others off guard. Coupled with the assistance of the protective mountain array, they were able to achieve such a result. However, if beast-taming King Guguju and the others were serious and did not give him any chance, he would not have any chance of winning. After all, under the siege of a group of demonic beasts that day, this man was already somewhat unable to hold on. Was that not the case? Fang Jingyu did not know that it was because Xianxia listened to Luo Qingtong's words and did not hurt the golden-winged great condor. That was why he seemed to be somewhat unable to hold on. She thought that Xianxia was unable to defeat beast-taming King Guguju and the others. She looked at Xianxia in a daze. The latter, on the other hand, looked at beast-taming King Guguju and the others with a cold gaze. Did they want to capture Luo Qingtong? They did not have the ability to do so. Have you brought everyone from the Black Field over? He asked Bei Qing and Feng Yu through telepathy. I've brought them all. Master, there are close to 100 people at the Holy Venerate level and above. They are all near the fallen Immortal land. Please rest assured, Master. Bei Qing and Feng Yu hurriedly said. Before this, Xianxia had ordered them to bring the Blackfield's strongest forces from the True Spill continent to the hidden world. They had brought them to the vicinity of the fallen Immortal land early in the morning. At that moment, the strength of those people was more than sufficient to sweep through everyone present. The people of beast-taming King's Valley wanted to make a move against Luo Qingtong. It was simply a pipe dream. If someone could injure their mistress right under their noses in such a low-level continent, they would be shocked. In that case, all of them could go eat shit. Xianxia's eyes were cold. He did not even raise his head. He was too lazy to look at beast-taming King Guguju and the others. If the latter dared to make a move, it would be their doomsday. In the Sky Yuan Sect's team, Qin Tong was ecstatic. He had been looking for an opportunity to deal with Luo Qingtong and the Grand Dean. He did not expect that before the fallen Immortal land he would get such a great opportunity. Thinking of this, he could not wait to open his mouth and say, "Beast-taming King Guguju, are you mistaken?" He said hypocritically, "Miss Luo Qingtong is our Sky Yuan Sect's honorary guest elder. She used to be a person of the secular world. How could she have a grudge with the people of beast-taming King's Valley?" "I'm afraid this is a misunderstanding," he said. "Humph. This can't be a misunderstanding. Luo Qingtong has a grudge with the people of beast-taming King's Valley." Chapter 1994. Beast Tamer King Guguju's voice was cold when he saw that the Heavenly Yuan sect had the intention to interfere with Luo Qingtong's matter. His words were laced with a hint of threat. The Beast Tamer King's Valley members behind him took a step forward, looking like they were about to make a move. Seeing this, the Heavenly Yuan sect members' faces turned ugly. The Beast Tamer King's Valley members were too arrogant. However, the Beast Tamer King's Valley members were indeed stronger than them. If they were to make a move, the Heavenly Yuan sect would definitely be at a disadvantage. The group couldn't understand. Luo Qingtong was a little girl from the secular world. How could she have a grudge with the Beast Tamer King's Valley? The other party shouldn't have had the opportunity to come into contact with the Beast Tamer King's Valley members. While the Heavenly Yuan sect members were thinking, Qin Tong spoke again hypocritically. "Hey, wait, how can the Beast Tamer King's Valley be so impulsive? Luo Qingtong, Miss Luo, how do you think this matter should be resolved?" He looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong with a mocking expression. His gaze swept past Luo Qingtong, Xianxia and the Grand Supreme Dean. "Come out yourself and have a good talk with the Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others. See what's going on? Otherwise, our Heavenly Yuan sect members will have a hard time. We can't implicate the entire sect because of your matter, right? Don't you think so?" Qin Tong's words instantly enraged the Grand Supreme Dean. That treacherous bastard. He cursed in his heart. What was the difference between Qin Tong's words and asking Luo Qingtong to come out herself for the Beast Tamer King's Valley to deal with? He clearly knew that the Beast Tamer King's Valley members wanted to capture Luo Qingtong, but he still asked her to come out herself to talk with them. Could it be that if she didn't do anything wrong, the Beast Tamer King's Valley would give up on capturing her? He even said that because of her matter the entire sect would be implicated. What nonsense was he spouting? Luo Qingtong clearly had a deal with the Heavenly Yuan sect to help them resolve the power from the Forbidden Area. The Heavenly Yuan sect members originally had an obligation to protect her. What did he mean by implicated? The Grand Principal couldn't bear it anymore. He rolled up his sleeves and was about to rush out to fight, but was stopped by Luo Qingtong. She already had a plan in mind, so she didn't need the Grand Supreme Dean to stand up for her. It's fine. I do have a grudge with the beast taming King's Valley. This grudge can't be resolved, so don't interfere. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. She thought very clearly. Originally, she would have thought of a way to separate herself from the Sky Yuan sect after entering the fallen immortal land. After all, she had too many secrets and it was not suitable for her to travel with the people of the Sky Yuan sect. Moreover, she had a lot of things to do, so it was not suitable for her to go with the Heavenly Yuan sect. The only reason he made the deal with the Sky Yuan sect was to make it easier for Su Yu and the others. The people from the beast-taming King's Valley were here for her. There was no need to involve the people from the Heavenly Branch. Little girl, what are you talking about? You've helped me and my wife so much. Your business is our business. What are you talking about? The Grand Supreme Dean blew his beard and glared at her. Luo Qingtong said it lightly. She was alone. Even if she had Yi Qianxian with her, she didn't need to fear the people from the beast-taming King's Valley. However, didn't she need to enter the fallen immortal land? And what would she do in the future? Would she have to hide from the people from the beast-taming King's Valley? The other party couldn't do anything to her. What if they attacked the True Spill continent? Chapter 1995. It's fine, you don't have to worry. Your Sky Yuan sect really can't do anything about this. You don't have to be stubborn with me, I know what I'm doing. Luo Qingtong's gaze swept past Qin Tong, who was already stirring up the crowd of disciples. The other party was waiting for the Grand Supreme Dean to jump out to protect her. At that time, the Grand Supreme Dean's position in the Sky Yuan sect would be unstable. And he would be able to harvest people's hearts. Luo Qingtong was clear in her heart that unless the Grand Supreme Dean revealed that she could transform the forbidden energy, and even purify the immortal jade bone. Otherwise, if they defended her like this, it would definitely incur the dissatisfaction of a portion of the Sky Yuan sect. Moreover, even if she pulled in the Sky Yuan sect, they might not be able to deal with the people from beast-taming King's Valley. Why would Luo Qingtong do this? Thinking of this, she immediately stood out. That's right, this is a matter between me and beast-taming King's Valley. It has nothing to do with the Sky Yuan sect. Beast-taming King Guguju, don't use this as a pretext to make a fuss. Luo Qingtong stood out, startling the Sky Yuan sect master. Others might not know about Luo Qingtong's ability and value, but he was very clear about it. Just a moment ago he was discussing with a group of elders that they must protect Luo Qingtong, but he didn't expect the latter to directly stand out. He was about to stop her when he heard Luo Qingtong raise her voice. Aren't you people from beast-taming King's Valley trying to cover up the treasure map, so you want to silence me? Why do you have to find so many reasons? Everyone, I am Knight, the so-called traitor of beast-taming King's Valley. I can prove that the treasure map is in the hands of beast-taming King's Valley. As Luo Qingtong's voice sounded, she raised her hand and wiped her face. Suddenly her face changed. When the crowd heard her words, their hearts were in an uproar. Might I? The traitor of beast-taming King's Valley? Hey, how do you know that she's a traitor? Wasn't it the people from beast-taming King's Valley who said it themselves? That's right, I think the beast-taming King's Valley used up all the people and found out that the matter was leaked, so they wanted to silence everyone. That's right. Previously, when people from the Celestial Palace went to their valley to interrogate them, they still refused to admit it and said that Night Eye was a traitor. He said that this was all done by the other party and that it had nothing to do with their beast-taming King Valley. And the result? Just now they obviously wanted to hide it from everyone and get Luo Qingtong to their side. And you're still saying that it wasn't premeditated and that you wanted to silence him. That's right. The crowd whispered to each other. As for the beast tamer King Guguju and the others, they were so angry that they almost vomited blood. They deliberately didn't reveal Luo Qingtong's identity because they wanted the map of the graveyard of immortals. Unexpectedly, Luo Qingtong, who should be more afraid of her identity being exposed than anyone else, took the initiative to expose her own identity. Not only that, she even made a false accusation. The mood of the people from Beast Taming King's Valley instantly turned sour. As for the beast tamer King Guguju, he raised his hand and pointed at Luo Qingtong. Blood rushed to his forehead as he angrily said, "You?" Before he could finish his words, Luo Qingtong already said with a face full of righteousness, "I'm a traitor." "That's right, Valley Master, you've treated me very well and my kindness is as heavy as a mountain. But you want to kill me, you can't expect me to not tell the truth, right? For the sake of our beast taming King's Valley, I've endured enough. Previously, when the rumors were flying everywhere, I didn't even stand up to say a word about beast taming King's Valley. If you didn't see through my disguise today and wanted to kill me without giving me a chance, I wouldn't have stood up to expose you. Now don't think of stopping me from telling the truth." Chapter 1996. As soon as Luo Qingtong spoke, beast tamer King Guguju couldn't take it anymore. He stomped his foot and charged towards Luo Qingtong. "Shut up, bitch. How dare you slander our beast tamer valley?" Beast tamer King Guguju was furious. If he'd known that this bitch was so cunning, he wouldn't have thought of getting her to his side before torturing her. He should have done it directly. She wouldn't even have had a chance to speak. Let's see how she's going to slander us. Beast tamer King Guguju couldn't hold back his anger and charged towards Luo Qingtong. Seeing this, Xianxia's eyes turned cold. The light under his sleeves was 70% contained and 30% ready to be released. He was about to wave it out. At this moment, Luo Qingtong pressed the back of his hand. "It's okay," she whispered into his ear. His gaze swept past the crowd gathered at the entrance to the land of the deceased immortals and looked towards a certain place behind them. Bang! As the beast taming King Valley's Valley Master moved, an attack suddenly appeared in front of him, blocking his path and forcing him to retreat. "Beast tamer King Guguju, why are you in such a hurry to make a move? Even if you want to silence her, isn't it a little too late now?" Following this cold voice, a group of people walked in from the periphery of the land of the deceased immortals. This group of people was none other than the people from Celestial Palace and Star Alliance. The aura around the person walking at the front was vast and majestic. It was much stronger than the aura of everyone else present. He was surrounded by the aura of laws, and the blooming and dying of the 10,000 flowers seemed to be within it. He was the one who launched the attack just now. An exalted realm expert. Seeing the fluctuation of his aura, the people around him were all shocked. An exalted realm expert. This person's identity was obviously the Palace Master of Star Alliance. It's the Palace Master of Star Alliance. The Palace Master of Star Alliance actually came out in person this time. It seems that the treasures in the land of the deceased immortals are indeed coveted. Yes. The Palace Master of Star Alliance was sent by the Star Alliance to be in charge of guarding these continents. Normally, he wouldn't appear in the hidden world in order to better temper his strength and improve himself. He actually came out in person this time. Everyone looked at the Palace Master of Star Alliance in shock. Beside him was the Palace Master of Star Alliance's the Palace Master of Star Alliance. Everyone took a rough look and saw that there were no less than 10 peak holy venerables. There were dozens of them, exalted X as well. At this moment he was respectfully following behind the Star Alliance Palace Master as he walked over. Beside them were the Celestial Palace's people who were flattering the Palace Master of Star Alliance. Luo Qingtong immediately winked at Xianxia when she saw this group of people. "See, I told you it's fine. They just needed to watch the show." At this moment, the Palace Master of Celestial Palace was looking at the Beast Tamer King Guguju, who was stopped by the Palace Master of Star Alliance. "Beast Tamer King Guguju, your Beast Tamer King Valley probably didn't expect your lies to be exposed one day, right? Hand over our Celestial Palace's treasure map. We've already offered that to the Star Alliance's palace." Chapter 1997. Bullsh *T evidence in hand. When Beast Tamer King Guguju heard this, he was so angry that he couldn't suppress the sweet and fishy taste in his throat and spat it out. He pointed at Luo Qingtong and shouted, "She framed our Beast Tamer Valley. Humph. Do you think we're all blind? You clearly recognized her identity, why didn't you say anything?" The Celestial Palace Lord sneered. Beast Tamer King Guguju thought they were 3 years old. As soon as they arrived at the entrance, they heard them asking the people from the Heavenly Yuan sect for the person they wanted. They didn't mention that Luo Qingtong was Night Eye at all. If the other party didn't reveal her identity, they wouldn't know why they suddenly asked for a girl from the Sky Yuan sect. The beast-taming King's Valley's trick was well executed. They probably thought that Luo Qingtong had shouldered all the crimes for the beast-taming King Valley's kindness in the past, so she wouldn't dare to reveal her identity. Who knew that the girl would throw caution to the wind? The Celestial Palace Lord sneered. Beast-tamer King Guguju was almost angered to death. He did hide that Luo Qingtong was Night Eye's identity, but it wasn't for the reason that the Celestial Palace Lord thought. This time he really couldn't clear his name even if he jumped into the Yellow River. Beast-tamer King Guguju was so angry that he gasped for breath. At this time the Star Alliance Temple Lord opened his mouth. Beast-tamer King Guguju, it's useless to say more. His voice was cold. The beast-taming King's Valley was clearly treating them like fools. Previously he had the Star Alliance Temple Lord go to Beast-tamer Valley and ask them to make peace with Celestial Palace, giving him face. But the people of Beast-taming King's Valley kept saying that they didn't have any treasure map. At that time he didn't have any evidence, so he couldn't do anything to the Beast-taming King's Valley. But now, since the people from Beast-taming King's Valley didn't have the treasure map, why would they go to such lengths to kill a young girl? And he still dared to say that he didn't kill him to silence him? He had heard of Night Eye before. He was indeed one of the disciples that the beast-tamer King Guguju valued greatly. In just a short period of time she had changed from loving him to wanting to kill him. And it happened when the people of Celestial Palace were threatened and came to him for help. Who would believe that there was nothing fishy going on? The beast-taming King's Valley actually treated him like a fool. Then don't blame him for not giving them any face. Return the treasure map of the Celestial Palace. Otherwise, bang. As the Star Alliance Hall Master waved his sleeve, the entire mountain peak in the distance suddenly collapsed. From top to bottom, it was as if it had been flattened by an invisible force. Toppling mountains and overturning seas. Moving mountains and leveling the earth. It really happened in the blink of an eye. And there wasn't a single residue left on the huge mountain peak. It was as if it had completely disappeared into thin air. It was clearly turned into nothingness under the attack of the Star Alliance Hall Master. Seeing such strength, the surrounding people all sucked in a breath of air. And Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed, also looking at the Star Alliance Hall Master. The strength of the venerable realm actually had such power? Qianren, can you do it? Luo Qingtong pulled Yi Qianxian's sleeve and whispered to him. The man glanced at her. These words were simply an insult to his strength. The corners of Beiqing and Feng Yu's lips twitched as they listened. Chapter 1998. However, the barrier of this low-level continent was too weak. More than half of their strength was suppressed. They couldn't display their full strength here, otherwise this continent's barrier wouldn't be able to withstand it. While Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian were whispering to each other, beast-tamer King Guguju was in an extremely difficult situation because of her. The Star Alliance Palace Master wanted him to hand over the treasure map of the land of the deceased immortals, but he didn't have this treasure map in his hands. If he was not wrong, the real map should be in Luo Qingtong's hands. But the most hateful thing was that bitch. So that no one would believe his words. Even if beast-tamer King Guguju said that the treasure map was in her hands and wanted to make a move on her, the Star Alliance Palace Master would have already made a move on him before he could do anything. Thinking of this, beast-tamer King Guguju's expression was extremely ugly. If he knew that Luo Qingtong would make such a false accusation, he definitely wouldn't have been greedy for the treasure map of the land of the deceased immortals. He definitely would have exposed this woman's identity and made public what she did. Damn it. This time he was really going to be screwed over by this bitch. The people of Sky Yuan sect also didn't expect such a turn of events and development. Sky Yuan sect master originally wanted to stop Luo Qingtong and stop her from stepping out. However, he was a step too late. After hearing Luo Qingtong expose her identity, he didn't say anything. The girl had her own plans, he could feel it. The Grand Dean and Bai Suqing were also very surprised. Especially the Grand Dean, his mouth was wide open. He didn't know that Luo Qingtong was the recently popular Night Eye. This girl, when did she become so popular in the hidden world? Moreover, she was so daring. One must know that the name Night Eye was very popular in the hidden world. Beast-tamer King Valley's people were looking for her everywhere. The people of the Celestial Palace also said that if they found her, they would not let her off easily. What Night Eye had done in the beast-taming King Valley was still the subject of gossip in the hidden world. This girl was doing so well in the hidden world that even he, the Supreme Dean, felt ashamed. As for Qin Tong, he clenched his teeth as he looked at the scene that was completely different from what he had expected. Bastard Luo Qingtong is actually that Night Eye. He had pushed her out because he wanted her to be captured by the beast-taming King's Valley, but who would have thought that she would be fine? Why was this B*TCH so lucky? Just as Qin Tong's heart was filled with hatred, Fong Jingyu, whose smile froze on her face due to Luo Qingtong's sudden reversal, suddenly spoke. Night Eye. She coldly called out Luo Qingtong's name. This B*TCH had ruined her looks and crippled her body. Now she even wanted to use the Star Alliance Palace and Celestial Palace to deal with them. How could she let her have her way? Even if Fong Jingyu were to throw caution to the wind, she wouldn't let her have an easy time. Don't you know why our beast-taming King's Valley is chasing you and hiding your identity? That's right. She looked at the Star Alliance Palace Master and said in a deep voice, that treasure map is indeed in our hands. The moment Fong Jingyu's words came out, beast-taming King Guguju was instantly enraged. Fong Jingyu, what nonsense are you talking about? Chapter 1999. He glared at Fong Jingyu angrily. The latter simply ignored him. She raised her hand and pointed at Luo Qingtong. But this woman took it away. As she said this, she suddenly lifted her head and looked at Luo Qingtong coldly. Night Eye, I dare to swear that our beast-taming King Valley doesn't have this map. Otherwise, I'll be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. Do you dare to swear? Use the man next to you. Fong Jingyu pointed at Xianxia sinisterly. This man was absolutely important to Luo Qingtong. She bet that the other party wouldn't use him to swear. Even if the map wasn't in Luo Qingtong's hands, it would still be the same. Of course, even if she took a step back, Luo Qingtong really did use this man to swear. Then such a vicious oath should be enough for the other party to see the true colors of Luo Qingtong, right? Being able to destroy the relationship between the two of them made Fong Jingyu proud and excited more than anything else. What right did Luo Qingtong have to get something that she couldn't have? Fong Jingyu's mind kept replaying the scene of Yi Qianxian standing up for Luo Qingtong in the secret place in the back mountain. Luo Qingtong didn't deserve such a man. How about it? She looked at Luo Qingtong coldly and sneered. Luo Qingtong, Night, do you dare to bet? Fong Jingyu's expression was aggressive. The Star Alliance Temple Master also looked at Luo Qingtong with a frown. Fong Jingyu had already made a heavenly oath, although he might not believe it. After all, the treasure map wasn't in the hands of beast-taming King Valley, but it didn't mean that they didn't have it. They could put it somewhere else or let someone else have it. But if Luo Qingtong didn't dare to swear, then it meant that there was something fishy about what she said before. Oh no, this evil doctor child. Looking at this scene, the Grand Supreme President was anxious. This move of Fong Jingyu's was too insidious. Asking Luo Qingtong to swear on Yi Qianxian, wasn't that forcing her to admit it regardless of whether what she said was true or not? This bastard's thoughts were too vicious. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows when she heard Fong Jingyu's words. For once, the other party wasn't stupid. She could tell how important Yi Qianxian was to her. That's right. If Luo Qingtong had to swear on her own life, she wouldn't have minded. But if she were to use Yi Qianxian, even if there was only the slightest possibility that it would come true, she would not gamble on it. That's enough. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. The smile on her lips was devilish and unbridled. It bloomed so enchantingly as she looked at Fong Jingyu. Luo Qingtong's expression was languid and indifferent. At the same time, there was a devilish and seductive smile. The way she looked at Fong Jingyu was completely different from before. This was the real evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Everything before was just an act. You've won this round. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she looked at the man beside her. She knew it wasn't good to have a weak spot. If she wasn't careful, she would lose the whole game. Luo Qingtong had never lost in such a matter. But it was also fortunate that this man was her weak spot and not someone else. You're the one who caused this mess for me. You'll have to clean it up for me later. Luo Qingtong looked at Yi Qianxian with a gloomy expression. If she had known that in the end Yi Qianxian would still have to make a move, she wouldn't have wasted so much time with the people from beast-taming King Valley. It was a waste of her saliva and expression. Chapter 2000. Xianxian's expression was indifferent. He looked at Luo Qingtong with a faint smile, but when he looked at Fang Jingyu and the others, his eyes were full of coldness. He made a slight gesture under his sleeves. Bei Qing and Feng Yu understood and immediately began to send out signals to mobilize the experts of the Black Field outside. As for Fang Jingyu, after Luo Qingtong said that she had won this round, her heart was already wild with joy. Haha. Luo Qingtong, I knew you wouldn't dare to bet. She had indeed made the right bet. Luo Qingtong really didn't dare to swear on this man. However, Fang Jingyu still felt some regret in her heart. After all, Luo Qingtong didn't swear on Xianxia, so she couldn't drive a wedge between the two of them. But it didn't matter, Luo Qingtong's death was the same. Thinking so, Fang Jingyu suddenly smiled proudly. That smile was full of malice. So, you're admitting that everything you said before was a lie? That's right. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She crossed her arms and looked at Fang Jingyu in front of her, the corners of her mouth raised slightly, and her tone was indescribably casual. I did deliberately frame your beast-taming King Valley. As soon as Luo Qingtong's words came out, the surrounding crowd instantly went into an uproar. Luo Qingtong deliberately framed beast-taming King Valley? Did that mean that the beast-taming King Valley's Valley Master was telling the truth? She deliberately sneaked into beast-taming King Valley, gained their trust, and then turned beast-taming King Valley upside down, and then went to Celestial Palace to frame beast-taming King Valley. All of this was done by her. Everyone felt a burst of disbelief in their hearts. How old was Luo Qingtong? And her strength. Everyone looked at the aura rippling from Luo Qingtong's body. She was clearly in the Saint King realm. How did she manage to do that? Everyone's expression was shocked. Beast-taming King Guguju also reacted at this time. Bitch, you finally admitted it. Beast-taming King Guguju's heart was indescribably proud and elated. This B***key. She had plotted against him to the point where he couldn't even defend himself. Now she finally admitted that she was the one who framed the Beast-taming King's Valley. Beast-taming King Gu was heart-excited. Well done. He laughed loudly. Then he looked at Luo Qingtong ferociously and asked, not only did you frame us, but you also have the treasure map of the land of the deceased immortals, right? The beast-taming King Valley Master's face darkened. He had been the scapegoat for so long, and now the truth of the matter was finally going to be revealed. Yes. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up. She nodded. The treasure map is indeed in my hands. Luo Qingtong knew that after she admitted to framing beast-taming King Valley, the whereabouts of the treasure map could not be hidden. Therefore she did not deny it. Everyone's eyes widened when they heard this. Oh my God! The Grand Dean was shocked by the development of this series of events. Luo Qingtong was not only Night-Eye. Moreover, everything she had said before was actually a lie. She framed beast-taming King Valley. Not only that, the treasure map of the land of the deceased immortals, which everyone coveted, was in her hands. Oh my God! Was this evil doctor's words true or false? Did she deliberately admit these things to avoid swearing on Yi Qianming? Chapter 2001. While everyone was still in shock, the Palace Master of Celestial Palace opened his mouth. You mean to say that you killed all of us from the Celestial Palace? Were you the one who snatched the treasure map? His face was as dark as water. If all of this was done by Luo Qingtong, then what did they, the people of Celestial Palace, miss out on? If they had known earlier, they would have kept the girl when she came to deliver the treasure to frame Beast-Taming Valley. Then there wouldn't have been so much trouble. As for that treasure map, it could only be enjoyed by the Supreme Celestial Palace. Thinking of this, the Palace Master of Celestial Palace was vexed and unable to control himself. It was as if he was about to be drowned by the tide. He looked at Luo Qingtong with a dark expression. The latter only looked at him with a light smile. That's right. Luo Qingtong nodded. I killed all of you from Celestial Palace, including Elder Xie and the 3 disciples and protectors you sent later. As soon as Luo Qingtong said this, the Palace Master of Celestial Palace's expression became incomparably ferocious. Luo Qingtong's words confirmed that she had indeed killed the people of Celestial Palace. Otherwise, she wouldn't have known the number of people they sent later like the back of her hand. Bitch, it really was you. The Palace Master of Celestial Palace's expression was ugly. He had never thought that he would be fooled by a young girl. The other party was playing with the people of Celestial Palace and Beast-Taming Valley like monkeys. This was simply unbearable. Hand over the treasure map. Otherwise you'll die without a burial place. He shouted angrily, looking at Luo Qingtong with eyes full of murderous intent. Obviously, even if Luo Qingtong handed over the treasure map, he wouldn't let her go. Being toyed with like a fool was a great humiliation. Not to mention that Luo Qingtong forced them to announce the treasure map to the public and even promised to give it to the Palace Master of Star Alliance. One must know that they could have taken the treasure map for themselves. The Palace Master of Celestial Palace's heart was bleeding. The people of Beast-Taming Valley were also closing in on Luo Qingtong coldly. Not for anything else, but the fact that the other party had played and framed them, and even spied on the secrets of Beast-Taming Valley. Now that the truth was out, they had to kill Luo Qingtong. Seeing the two sects closing in on Luo Qingtong, the Grand Supreme Dean's heart pounded rapidly. What do we do? Why is this evil doctor's brain so slow now? If you don't want to swear, then don't. Why do you admit to these things? Just don't confess to die. We're finished. The Grand Dean was so anxious that he was fuming. Both sects wanted to kill Luo Qingtong. Especially with the Star Alliance behind Celestial Palace. We're finished. Even if the Sky Yuan sect intervened, they wouldn't be able to help her. The Grand Dean was so anxious that he was on fire. Su Yu and the others were also in an uproar. However, looking at Yi Qianming beside Luo Qingtong, their hearts calmed down. Luo Qingtong never did things that she wasn't sure of. They believed in their master. What's more, Ming Zun's identity was extraordinary and he was powerful. He would never let anything happen to their master. As long as Luo Qingtong was fine, they had nothing to fear. Everyone thought so and immediately suppressed the worry in their hearts as well as the urge to rush out. Chapter 2002. Boom. The black fog that enveloped the land of the fallen immortals behind them suddenly began to tumble. As the last wave of aura erupted from the land of the fallen immortals, a vast and violent power surged out from the land of the fallen immortals. Then the power of the aura dropped to the lowest point. The aura of the entire land of the fallen immortals was almost gone. The land of the fallen immortals opened. Swoosh. The aura of the land of the fallen immortals surged. Luo Qingtong's eyes lit up. She looked at the people from Beast-Taming Valley and Celestial Palace who were closing in on her. Her lips curled up and she held the man's face and kissed him on the lips. Wait for me to come back. As she spoke, she leaped into the air. Her laughter was like a silver bell that reverberated in the air. People from Beast-Taming Valley and Celestial Palace, I'll be leaving first. You don't have to see me off. As she spoke, Luo Qingtong's figure instantly rushed toward the aura of the land of the fallen immortals. In an instant she disappeared from everyone's sight. Damn it, go after her. Beast-Taming King Guguju and the others were furious. No one expected the aura of the land of the fallen immortals to suddenly weaken at this moment. This gave Luo Qingtong an opportunity to take advantage of it. Bastard. The group chased after her into the land of the fallen immortals. When the people from the hidden world saw the land of the fallen immortals open, they couldn't be bothered to watch the show anymore. They all rushed toward the land of the fallen immortals. The land of the fallen immortals opened for a limited time each time. They couldn't waste time for nothing. It would be troublesome if someone else took the initiative. The group rushed toward the land of the fallen immortals, blocking the people from Beast-Taming Valley and Celestial Palace from chasing after Luo Qingtong. The latter and the others were flustered and exasperated. Get out of my way. Beast-Tamer King Guguju, Supreme Elder, Celestial Palace Master, and the others all released their auras, shaking off the people around them and chasing after Luo Qingtong. When the Grand Supreme Dean and Bai Suqing saw this, they immediately led the people from the Sky Yuan sect and rushed towards them. Hey, make way. The land of the fallen immortals is not owned by your two families. Don't be so overbearing. The Grand Supreme Dean put on an act and led the people of the Sky Yuan sect to block the path of the Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the Grand Supreme Elder. When the Sky Yuan sect master and the others saw this, the corners of their lips twitched. When they thought of Luo Qingtong's ability, they immediately rushed in the direction of the Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the Grand Supreme Elder, blocking the people from Celestial Palace. When the group of people made such a scene, the beast tamer King Guguju, the Grand Supreme Dean, and the Celestial Palace Master lost the initiative. Bastard! When they rushed into the land of the fallen immortals and did not see Luo Qingtong, the beast tamer King Guguju and the Celestial Palace Master were so angry that they gritted their teeth. Did you people from the Sky Yuan sect do this on purpose? They looked at the Sky Yuan sect master and the others angrily. Hey, how can you talk like that? What did we do on purpose? The Grand Supreme Dean said seriously, we also want to enter the land of the fallen immortals. Are you the only ones allowed to enter? What a joke. The Grand Supreme Dean sneered at them, which made the beast tamer King Guguju and the Celestial Palace Master furious. Chapter 2003. On the outskirts of the land of the deceased immortals, Xianxia was prepared to help Luo Qingtong block the people from Beast Tamer Valley and Celestial Palace. However, before he could do anything, the Grand Dean and the others had already rushed forward. Seeing the people from the Sky Yuan sect make a move, he raised his eyebrows and dispersed the attack he had been accumulating. Wait for her return? Xianxia watched Luo Qingtong's figure disappear into the land of the deceased immortals. He raised his hand and touched his lips, the corners of his lips curling up slightly. Of course he would wait for her return. If he couldn't wait for her return, he would tear down the entire land of the deceased immortals. Bring her back. Xianxia's eyes were cold as he looked at the sky above the center of the land of the deceased immortals. The wailing and howling of ghosts and wolves could be heard as the consciousness of the extraterritorial powerhouses gathered there. In the direction of the Star Alliance Palace, the Star Alliance Palace Master's eyes were cold as he watched Luo Qingtong's figure disappear into the hidden world. There was something strange about this girl. The last burst of aura in the land of the deceased immortals was extremely violent and ferocious. Even he couldn't easily approach that place at that time, let alone enter it directly. But that girl was able to avoid those auras and enter the land of the deceased immortals? However, no matter how strange she was, the treasures in the land of the deceased immortals could only be his. The Star Alliance Palace Master's eyes burned with passion as he thought of all the rumors and secrets about the land of the deceased immortals. He looked in the direction of the land of the deceased immortals and coldly shouted, "Order everyone in the Star Alliance Palace to surround this place." When the land of the deceased immortals opened in the past, no one had a treasure map, let alone take the treasure from the center of the land of the deceased immortals. But this time a treasure map had appeared. There was a high chance that the treasure in the center would be taken out by someone. He couldn't miss this opportunity. No matter who obtained the treasure in the end, it would only fall into his hands. After the Star Alliance Hall Master gave the order, the members of the Star Alliance Hall immediately took action. Master. Bei Qing Fengyu and the others looked at Xianxia. A group of experts from the Black Field had been gathered outside the entrance of the land of the deceased immortals. Should they all come in and clean up the Star Alliance Hall? Ignore them. Xianxia's gaze was cold. For the time being, there was no need to alert the enemy. Purging the members of the Star Alliance Hall would most likely alert the Star Alliance. Luo Qingtong was in the land of the deceased immortals. Xianxia was not in the mood to deal with other people, nor did he want to expose his identity at this time. Everything would have to wait until Luo Qingtong came back. Yes. Bei Qing Fengyu and the others heard the order and immediately gestured to the experts from the Black Field, who had already approached the entrance of the land of the deceased immortals to retreat. After receiving the order, the latter and the others immediately retreated silently and quickly left this place. Their movements were fast and silent. The members of the Star Alliance Hall did not sense anything wrong. Swoosh. In the land of the deceased immortals, Luo Qingtong's figure flitted quickly. The fog around her was thick. This dark fog was so thick that one could not see their fingers in front of their face. Moreover, it was extremely corrosive. But at this moment, the aura in the land of the deceased immortals had weakened. The dark black fog had also become much lighter. Chapter 2004. However, it was still very dangerous in the land of the deceased immortals at such a distance. Because if they encountered any sudden danger, such a short distance was not enough for the cultivators to dodge. However, this was not a problem for Luo Qingtong at all. The blood-red pupils in her eyes opened. In an instant, the surroundings of the land of the deceased immortals appeared in her eyes in a special 3D form amidst the flickering enchanting blood-red light. The surrounding black fog, which even the divine consciousness of a holy venerable could not penetrate, was completely visible to her at a glance. It was not an obstacle at all. Luo Qingtong's figure moved quickly in the thick fog. At this moment, swoosh. Suddenly, the sound of something breaking through the air came from the front. Then a figure suddenly appeared in front of Luo Qingtong. "Evil doctor, why are you here? Quick, come with me." The figure who suddenly appeared looked very anxious. That face belonged to the Grand Supreme Dean. After he said those words, he raised his hand to grab Luo Qingtong's hand. Luo Qingtong looked at his hand and narrowed her eyes slightly. She looked at the Grand Supreme Dean and smiled. "All right, Grand Supreme Dean, let's go." As she spoke, she took the initiative to extend her hand to him. Flap. Just as the Grand Supreme Dean was about to grab Luo Qingtong's wrist, the girl turned her wrist and grabbed his hand. At the same time, Luo Qingtong's other hand was holding the life and death yin-yang sword. She raised her hand and blocked in front of her. Clang. The sound of metal hitting metal was heard. In front of Luo Qingtong's chest, an extremely sharp hand with 4 to 5 feet long fingernails and covered with blood-red hair was blocked by the life and death yin-yang sword in Luo Qingtong's hand. The blood-red fingernails on the hand hit the life and death yin-yang sword in Luo Qingtong's hand hard, causing the black and white long sword to bend backward. Then with a boom, Luo Qingtong's aura erupted. In an instant, the life and death yin-yang sword in her hand erupted with an extremely powerful force. A pure white light was already brewing in the long sword when Luo Qingtong raised her hand to block in front of her. At this moment, it fiercely slashed at the blood-red figure who kept screaming in front of her. At this moment, the Grand Supreme Dean was nowhere to be seen in front of Luo Qingtong. There was only a highly decomposed corpse. The corpse was covered with livor mortis spots and blood-red hair. Looking at the clothes on its body, it was obviously a member of the sects in the hidden world that had entered the land of the deceased immortals. At this moment, it was screaming sharply, trying to dodge Luo Qingtong's attack. However, one of its hands was grabbed by Luo Qingtong, and the other hand was blocked by Luo Qingtong just now. There was no way for it to dodge or resist. Bang! Luo Qingtong's attack hit its body hard. Annihilation. Following Luo Qingtong's voice, the blood-red corpse suddenly screamed and was split in half by Luo Qingtong's attack. However, just as the corpse was split in half, an invisible blood-red figure suddenly rushed out from it. Screech. Chapter 2005. Then a tyrannical wave of psychic power fiercely pierced Luo Qingtong's mind like a steel needle. At the same time, the illusory crimson figure pounced on her. A psychic attack? Sensing the tyrannical wave of psychic power piercing her mind, Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows slightly. She was about to mobilize the psychic power in her mind. At this moment, the psychic power that pierced her mind was shattered with a bang. Little Pig's groaning voice rang out. "How dare any Tom, Dick, and Harry challenge my authority? Don't you know that your Grandpa Pig isn't a vegetarian?" In Luo Qingtong's mind, the tyrannical psychic power that pierced her mind was like a small stream that was swept into the waves of the ocean. It was powerlessly devoured by an even more violent and vast psychic power. That was the tyrannical willpower of Little Pig's body. His strength was sealed, but his psychic power and willpower were still there. Luo Qingtong's mind was his territory. Whoever attacked her would die. Bang! The psychic power attack launched by the illusory crimson figure was shattered. At the same time, the life and death sword in Luo Qingtong's hand changed its form in an instant. It directly struck the illusory crimson figure in front of her with a death blade annihilation. Screech! Under the attack of Luo Qingtong's death blade, the illusory crimson figure shrieked sharply. Then with a bang it turned into ashes. At the same time, in a place not far from Luo Qingtong, there was a loud bang. The ground exploded and dark red blood gushed out. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows slightly. She leaped over and waved the life and death sword in her hand. With a flick of the sword, she picked up the object under the dark red blood. Mortal jade bone? Luo Qingtong looked at the object that she had picked up with a surprised expression. She raised her hand and held the immortal jade bone in her hand. This immortal jade bone was completely different from the immortal jade bones she had seen before. This immortal jade bone was blood red in color. It was dark red in color and blood was still gushing out of it. Not only that, but the dark gray aura lingering around it was also very dense, almost black. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows as she looked at the immortal jade bone. Was it behind the bloody figure just now? Blood immortal jade bone? It seems that the blood-red figure just now was created by it. At this moment, Little Pig appeared in front of Luo Qingtong. Its 4 little hooves stepped on Luo Qingtong's shoulders, and one of its little hooves poked the immortal jade bone. The situation in the land of the fallen immortals is special. There are countless amounts of deathly qi inside. These immortal jade bones contain the will of countless foreign experts. It's not strange for them to be nourished and take form under such circumstances. That corpse was probably controlled by it. Yes. Luo Qingtong nodded. That was what she thought too. The Heavenly Yuan sect's records about the land of the fallen immortals also mentioned this kind of corpse attack. Generally, when a sect's team encountered such a situation, almost no one survived. Only extremely powerful experts would be able to escape by luck. Chapter 2006. Luo Qingtong noticed that the blood-colored figure that had rushed out after being split open by her had been completely illusory. If she hadn't had the blood eye, she wouldn't have been able to see it. If the other sects in the hidden world encountered this blood-colored figure, they probably wouldn't even know of its existence, let alone kill it. So no one had discovered the existence of this blood-colored immortal jade bone all this time? Luo Qingtong immediately sized up this blood-colored immortal jade bone as she pondered this. She discovered that the power within it was much more vigorous and dense than that of ordinary immortal jade bones. This immortal jade bone was clearly of Saint King quality, but it seemed to have the aura of a Saint Emperor's strength. Could the ancient heavenly spirit would purify the aura within this blood-colored immortal jade bone? As Luo Qingtong thought of this, she immediately opened the useless ring in her hand. Swoosh. As soon as Luo Qingtong opened the trash ring in her hand, the ancient heavenly spirit wood's leaves impatiently swept out and swept up the blood-colored immortal jade bone. Buzz buzz buzz. As the blood-colored immortal jade bone was swept up, it suddenly trembled violently. Clearly there was indeed some consciousness left within it. The blood-colored figure just now had been conjured by it. This blood-colored immortal jade bone kept trembling under the ancient heavenly spirit wood's aura. It was obvious that it was trying to resist something. However, the ancient heavenly spirit would fed on the power of soul intent. Its resistance was completely useless as it was swept up by the ancient heavenly spirit wood in an instant. Then the ancient heavenly spirit would absorbed a dark gray aura that was almost black. Soon the aura within the blood-colored immortal jade bone became incomparably pure and clear. It was even overflowing with rich blood energy. This aura was naturally the blood energy of the cultivators that the figure conjured by the blood-colored immortal jade bone had killed. This blood energy could increase a cultivator's combat strength. It was the existence of this blood energy that allowed this Saint King blood-colored immortal jade bone to possess the aura of a Saint Emperor. Luo Qingtong's eyes lit up. She knew that in the land of the fallen immortals, immortal jade bones above the Saint King realm were not easy to come by. Furthermore, it was only when the immortal jade bones were spat out that everyone would be able to obtain them. In the land of the fallen immortals, one would have to rely on luck to obtain them. The place with the most immortal jade bones was the center of the fallen immortal land. That was where the great battle had broken out. However, no one dared to approach that place, let alone enter to search for the immortal jade bones. Before Luo Qingtong's identity was exposed, she had made an agreement with the people of the Heaven Yuan sect to go with them to the forbidden area to search for the immortal jade bone and help purify it. Now that her identity was exposed, there was no follow-up for the time being. But no matter what, Luo Qingtong had to enter the forbidden area to take a look. If she guessed correctly, the treasure map was pointing to the center of the forbidden area. However, it was not suitable for her to go there yet. Firstly, he wasn't strong enough. Secondly, the aura fluctuations in the forbidden zone were the strongest. Even if he was going to weaken, it wouldn't be so fast. He couldn't go inside for the time being. He had to wait at least 7 or 8 days after the land of the fallen immortals opened before he could enter. Therefore, Luo Qingtong wasn't in a hurry for the time being. Holding the Saint King realm blood-colored immortal jade bone in her hand, Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. She was going to find a place to improve her strength first. The power of this blood-colored immortal jade bone was enough for her to reach the Saint Emperor realm. Chapter 2007. She's here. I see her. Following this voice with a swoosh, a group of figures suddenly appeared behind Luo Qingtong and surrounded her. Luo Qingtong, you can't run now, can you? Luo Qingtong raised an eyebrow when she heard the voice. Fang Jingyu. She looked at the group of people in front of her. Apart from Fang Jingyu, the rest were all from Celestial Palace. They were all around the Holy Emperor realm. Standing with Fang Jingyu was a Celestial Palace elder who was a Holy Emperor. At this moment, Fang Jingyu was standing beside him, gritting her teeth as she looked at Luo Qingtong. The light in her eyes was both smug and venomous. Luo Qingtong, do you think you've escaped from us? Unfortunately, you won't be able to. She sneered at the rays of light that surrounded Luo Qingtong. Those were the rays of light that the people of Beast Tamer Valley could only see after they cultivated a special technique. In the entire Beast Taming King's Valley, only the upper echelons were qualified to practice this technique. And Fang Jingyu was one of those people who had the qualifications to cultivate. When Luo Qingtong had rushed into the land of the deceased immortals, most of the people from Celestial Palace and Beast Tamer Valley had been stopped. Among them, those from Beast Tamer Valley had been the most closely watched. Because Fang Jingyu was disabled and disfigured, she hadn't been noticed. She had followed closely behind Luo Qingtong into the land of the deceased immortals. A group of people from Celestial Palace had also chased her into the land of the deceased immortals. However, the moment they entered the land of the deceased immortals, they lost sight of Luo Qingtong. But Fang Jingyu could see her. She immediately ordered the people from Celestial Palace to lead her in the direction of Luo Qingtong. Because they had caught up in time, Luo Qingtong hadn't shaken them off. However, the more they chased, the more frightened they became. Luo Qingtong's ability was too shocking. She was completely unaffected by the fog in the land of the deceased immortals. The people from Celestial Palace had been carefully following Luo Qingtong from a distance at first, but when they realized that the girl was moving faster and faster, they were about to go crazy. They took a risk and increased their speed, only to find that there really wasn't any obstruction in the girl's direction. They moved forward according to Fang Jingyu's instructions and followed the path that Luo Qingtong took. They did not encounter any obstacles at all. Even so, the distance between them and Luo Qingtong was gradually increasing. If the girl hadn't suddenly stopped here, they probably wouldn't have been able to catch up with Luo Qingtong and could only watch her leave. Luo Qingtong. The Celestial Palace elder looked in Luo Qingtong's direction with a greedy expression and said coldly, "Hand over the map in your hands. And tell us how you managed to enter the land of the deceased immortals as if there was no one around. Otherwise, I'm afraid we'll make sure you die a horrible death." His face was cold and gloomy. His eyes roamed greedily over Luo Qingtong's body. All of a sudden his eyes narrowed. This is... He looked in shock at the blood-colored celestial jade bone in Luo Qingtong's hand. Chapter 2008. The aura of this immortal jade bone is actually pure and untainted? His face was filled with ecstasy. This Celestial Palace elder had never seen an immortal jade bone in such a form. The immortal jade bones they had obtained before were all in a muddy state. However, the immortal jade bone in Luo Qingtong's hand was pure and rich, and its color was crystal clear. Even though he had never personally experienced the power of this immortal jade bone, he could still feel it. Could be refined and absorbed by humans. What did this mean? It meant that Luo Qingtong had found a place, or rather, a way to obtain such a pure immortal jade bone. Thinking that Luo Qingtong had suddenly stayed here for such a long time, this Celestial Palace elder confirmed his conjecture. At this moment, a protector of the Celestial Supreme Palace suddenly shouted, "Elder, look, this is a bloody corpse." He looked in shock at the blood-colored corpse that had been split in half not far from Luo Qingtong and raised his hand to point at it. Following his finger, the crowd of Celestial Palace people was suddenly indescribably shocked. The bloody corpse was naturally what they called it in Celestial Palace. In the land of the deceased immortals, the various sects had different names for this bloody corpse. However, one thing was certain. This bloody corpse was very difficult to deal with. No one knew how this bloody corpse was formed, but it could ignore ordinary physical attacks. Even if it was split in half, it could still attack and cause the cultivators present to die tragically. Everyone in the sects of the hidden world knew that the most difficult time to deal with a bloody corpse was not when its body was in perfect condition. Instead, it was when its body was split in half. At that time, all kinds of invisible and formless attacks were the most frightening. Moreover, it could also possess and control a person's body. Many people didn't even know how they died when faced with a bloody corpse. Generally speaking, when encountering such a thing, one could only run. But at this moment, not far from Luo Qingtong, there was a bloody corpse lying on the ground. As for her, she was completely unharmed. Did you kill this bloody corpse? The Celestial Palace elder looked at Luo Qingtong in surprise, then looked at the blood-colored celestial jade bone in her hand. He was overjoyed. Haha. I didn't know that I could obtain such a pure-blood immortal jade bone after killing a blood corpse. The elder of the Celestial Palace raised his head and laughed. He didn't think that with Luo Qingtong's strength she would be able to kill this zombie. The only explanation was that Luo Qingtong had discovered a weakness of the zombie and was able to kill it without leaving a trace. Haha. Good. He laughed loudly. No one knows about this yet, but we're going to be rich. The Celestial Palace elder was very pleased with himself. He naturally knew what this piece of news meant. Once they got hold of this secret, their status in the Celestial Palace and even in the hidden world would rise. When that time came, they would definitely be able to obtain great benefits. As he thought about this, he looked at Luo Qingtong with even more desire. Luo Qingtong, be a good girl and tell us everything you know. Perhaps we can consider leaving you with an intact corpse. Chapter 2009. As soon as he spoke, Fang Jingyu's cold laughter rang in his ears. She got off easy this time. As Fang Jingyu spoke, she glared at Luo Qingtong with a cold and vicious gaze. Her heart was filled with jealousy. Previously, she thought she was about to lose Luo Qingtong. Why did she have so many trump cards and abilities? She had so many of them. Even in the land of the deceased immortals, she was different from others. Fang Jingyu was jealous. She was so jealous that Luo Qingtong was going crazy. Even as the daughter of the beast tamer king, Gu Guzhu, she didn't live as carefree and unrestrained as Luo Qingtong. The other party had faced the people of the two great sects alone, and after offending them, he had left in a carefree manner, calm and collected. How could she live so carefree and unrestrained? She was supposed to be the favored daughter of the heavens. The person who lived so proudly and willfully. Fang Jingyu's gaze was sinister. She looked at Luo Qingtong. Her gaze was like the spitting of a venomous snake. It was extremely vicious and ruthless. If she refuses to speak, then we'll tie her up in the land of the deceased immortals. You should know that once one loses the protection of the immortal jade bone in the land of the deceased immortals, they'll become walking corpses. Luo Qingtong, tell me, what if I make them take an aphrodisiac before they die? What do you think will happen to you? Fang Jingyu looked at Luo Qingtong with a sinister smile. Of course, even if Luo Qingtong told her, she would still deal with her in the same way. She would never tell Luo Qingtong this. How could she let Luo Qingtong off so easily? Luo Qingtong could only wait for her miserable death. Only by watching Luo Qingtong being ravaged by those corpses would she be able to vent the hatred in her heart. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows at Fang Jingyu when she heard her words. Little Pig, who was beside her, also jumped up at this moment. F***CK, isn't this woman's mind too sinister? Look at how ugly and crippled she is. No wonder she's a pervert. Little Pig muttered. Then he shouted at Fang Jingyu, "Hey, ugly woman! Are you jealous of my master's beauty? Is that why you're harming her like this? Even if you harm her like this, you won't become beautiful." As Little Pig spoke, he raised a hoof toward Fang Jingyu. It had no choice. He wanted to learn from Luo Qingtong and give her a thumbs down or something. But he couldn't do that pose as a hoof. However, it was enough to raise one hoof. Hearing Little Pig's words, Fang Jingyu exploded in anger. Who was the one who caused her to become like this? Wasn't it? Now even the pig beside her was laughing at him. Fang Jingyu's as she Little Pig. Calm. Jingyu. Just do as I say. Don't worry, I swear to the heavens that I will never reveal anything about her. I only want this woman dead. Fang Jingyu's voice was crazed. She didn't care if the people from Beast Taming King's Valley could get Luo Qingtong's secrets. She didn't care if the people from Celestial Palace wanted to monopolize the secrets. She only wanted Luo Qingtong dead. Nothing else mattered. Hearing her words, the people from Celestial Palace looked at each other. The elder from Celestial Palace waved his hand and said, "Do it." Indeed, it was too difficult to get an answer from Luo Qingtong's mouth. It was better to do as Fang Jingyu said. When they were about to make their move, Luo Qingtong finally opened her mouth with an indifferent expression. P.S. I'm too sleepy to write. 7 chapters for chapters guaranteed 3 extra chapters. I'll continue during the day. Wah. As usual, if I don't see any new chapters by noon, it'll be after 6 p.m. Chapter 2010. Are you done? The girl raised her eyebrows slightly. It wasn't anything special. But at this moment, on this beautiful face without any concealment, there was an enchanting charm that was completely different from others. Domineering, unrestrained, gorgeous, and enchanting. If you're done, then prepare to die. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. She had stood there for so long, not to listen to their nonsense, but to be sure that no one else was following behind them. A sage emperor and more than 20 sage emperors. Is this what you're relying on? Her gaze swept across the group of Celestial Palace people who were charging at her, and Fang Jingyu, who had a complacent and ruthless expression on her face. With such strength, these people wanted to make her die a miserable death, or perhaps make her suffer a fate worse than death? Luo Qingtong, you can continue to boast shamelessly and deliberately mystify as much as you can. After all, this is the only path you can take, isn't it? Fang Jingyu sneered. She listened to Luo Qingtong's words, but she wasn't moved at all. This woman was probably only left with such a scheming path, wasn't she? But at this moment, who could fall for her trick? Previously, when she toyed with the Beast Tamer Valley and Celestial Palace in the palm of her hand, people had already seen through her cunning nature. But now the people of Heavenly Yuan sect and that masked man weren't here, so who could save her? She would try her best to show off her cleverness and see if she could save her own life. Fang Jingyu's expression became more and more twisted and cold. She couldn't wait to see Luo Qingtong's panicked and desperate expression when she realized that her plan was no longer working. Her expression was sinister, and she treated all of Luo Qingtong's words as a deliberate threat. Little Pig, on the other hand, looked at her sympathetically. Idiot. He took back his previous words. This woman was more than ugly and crippled. She was clearly stupid. She was hopelessly stupid. She actually thought that Luo Qingtong's words were a threat so that they would let her live? What a strange way of thinking. It was true that Luo Qingtong was good at scheming, but not everyone was worthy of her scheming. These people from Celestial Palace didn't even have the qualifications to be used by her. Where did Fang Jingyu get her confidence from? How could she say such words? A face was a good thing, hopefully she would understand it. Luo Qingtong couldn't be bothered to listen to Fang Jingyu's words. She waved the long sword in her hand and said, Little Pig, watch these people. Don't give them a chance to escape. As she spoke, she charged towards the people from the Celestial Palace who were charging towards her. Clang. The long sword in the young girl's hand made a clanging sound like a bell. The cold light on it was piercingly cold. It suddenly lit up and the coldness was wanton. Boom. A stunning sword radiance shot out from Luo Qingtong's life and death dual swords and rushed towards the people from the Supreme Celestial Palace. First form of the heaven-conquering art, heaven seizing. Luo Qingtong's strength was enough to kill an ordinary Saint King realm expert when she was still a Saint Lord. Chapter 2011. Bang! The sword light in Luo Qingtong's hand struck a Celestial Palace expert who was the first to reach her. At first, the opponent did not think much of Luo Qingtong's attack. She was just a Saint King realm girl. Even if she was a rare genius with extraordinary strength, so what? Moreover, who didn't know that Luo Qingtong's reputation as a genius was a lie to the people of beast-taming King's Valley? No one knew whether her talent as a beast-taming master was real or not. Not to mention that her martial talent had never been revealed before. This Celestial Palace Saint King completely ignored Luo Qingtong's attack. He raised his hand and wanted to use the weapon in his hand to block Luo Qingtong's attack. However, just as his weapon came into contact with Luo Qingtong's attack, his expression changed drastically. Not because of anything else, but the power contained in Luo Qingtong's attack was actually not inferior to these Holy Emperor realm cultivators. In fact, it was even stronger than that. What's going on? How did she do it? This Celestial Palace expert was shocked. He opened his mouth and wanted to warn the others around him to be careful. However, the sword light in Luo Qingtong's hand had already broken through his defense. With a bang, it broke through the attack that he had casually raised his hand to block and directly cut his throat. Bang! This Celestial Palace Saint King Realm expert's corpse fell to the ground. The other Celestial Palace Saint King Realm expert who had rushed up to grab Luo Qingtong was caught off guard and was blinded by the sudden splash of blood. Before he could react, in the next second, an incomparably sharp sword light flew over and directly cut off his head. His corpse fell heavily to the ground. In just an instant, 2 Saint Emperors had died. The experts of Celestial Palace were shocked. Only now did they realize that what Luo Qingtong had said about them waiting for death was not nonsense, nor was it deliberately mystifying. The other party's strength was clearly not an ordinary Saint King. After all, which Saint King possessed the strength to instantly annihilate Saint Emperors like them? It was laughable that they thought that Luo Qingtong was not strong enough to fool the Beast Tamer King Valley and the Celestial Palace. However, he didn't know that the girl's strength had never been revealed from the beginning to the end. Beast Taming King Valley and Celestial Palace were 2 complete sects with powerful strength. Naturally, they were worthy of Luo Qingtong's scheming. However, it wasn't worth it for these people. Everyone's faces were filled with shock and fear. After the 2 Saint Emperors fell, a Celestial Palace Saint King Realm expert directly blasted towards Luo Qingtong's location. However, the girl's figure had already disappeared. The special terrain of the land of the deceased immortals could completely hide Luo Qingtong's figure. She could clearly see the figures of the Celestial Palace people, but they could not see her. Bang bang bang. Sword light flashed past one after another. The group of Celestial Palace Saint Emperors could not fight back under Luo Qingtong's attacks. They could not even see where Luo Qingtong was. Chapter 2012. Bang. 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 When their bodies fell, Fong Jingyu and the Celestial Palace Elder finally regained their senses. You. They looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong in shock. Especially Fong Jingyu. She was still waiting for Luo Qingtong to be captured by these people from Celestial Palace and brought to her, so that she could torture her mercilessly. At that time, even if Luo Qingtong wanted to open her mouth to reveal something and beg for a chance to live, she would not allow it. He would not allow it either. She would definitely do something in the dark and torture the other party to death. However, who could tell her why the scene in front of her was completely different from what she had expected? More than 20 Holy Emperor stage experts from Celestial Palace were slaughtered by Luo Qingtong in less than a few breaths of time? Fong Jingyu and the Celestial Palace Elder did not even have time to react. They were too confident. In their opinion, how could Luo Qingtong escape the siege of those Holy Emperor stage experts from Celestial Palace? The only outcome for her was to be captured and tied up. The Celestial Palace Elder watched the show with his hands clasped behind his back. By the time he realized that something was wrong, he had already lost the best opportunity to act. Just as he was about to rush out, he was stopped by Little Pig. Little Pig had been sleeping in the 9-story exquisite pagoda for so long because of Luo Qingtong's increase in strength. His original strength had also been unsealed. Now Little Pig's strength had also increased. His little pink figure was like a bolt of lightning, flying around the Celestial Palace Elder. His 4 little pink hooves flickered with a chilly light, letting people know that his little hooves were not just good at acting cute. Bang! That Celestial Palace Elder hurriedly blasted out an attack, but it was intercepted midway. Not only that, but a Celestial Palace Holy Emperor stage expert who had turned around to escape was also pierced through by Little Pig's little hoof the moment he turned around. The charm of an ancient divine beast was finally revealed a little. Zhoosh. After Luo Qingtong killed the last Celestial Palace Holy Emperor stage expert who had besieged her, she turned to look at the Celestial Palace Elder and Fong Jingyu beside him. Fong Jingyu's expression changed greatly. She had wanted to warn these Celestial Palace experts of Luo Qingtong's whereabouts. However, Luo Qingtong's movements were too fast. In such a battle of life and death, the distance between life and death could be separated in just an instant. Fong Jingyu had no time to speak. Of course, even if she had spoken, she wouldn't have been able to change the outcome. Because Luo Qingtong's figure was constantly changing. By the time she called out Luo Qingtong's location, the girl had already changed her position. Knowing that Fong Jingyu could find and see through her position, how could Luo Qingtong give her any chance to take advantage of her? She would first get rid of the hindrance below. What came next was the real highlight of the show. These Celestial Palace Holy Emperors had been instigated by Fong Jingyu to capture her, but who knew that this was exactly what she wanted? Today none of those who caught up to her would be able to leave. Especially Fang Jingyu. Luo Qingtong still wanted to ask her how she and those from beast-taming King's Valley had discovered her. Chapter 2013. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. She shook the life and death duality sword in her hand to shake off the blood on it. His eyes flashed with a cold light as he stared at Fang Jingyu and the elder from the Celestial Palace. The latter's expression was grave. Fang Jingyu felt a chill all over her body. She didn't expect Luo Qingtong to be so strong. Looking at the corpses of the sage emperors around the girl, her heart was filled with panic. However, she quickly calmed down. This was because she recalled that the Celestial Palace elder beside her was a sage emperor expert. Although he was only a low-level sage emperor, his strength was on a completely different level from that of a sage emperor. Luo Qingtong could easily kill those sage emperors, but she relied on the terrain of the land of the deceased immortals. Fang Jingyu didn't know how Luo Qingtong could come and go freely in the land of the deceased immortals. But when she thought of the treasure map in Luo Qingtong's hands, she felt relieved. Luo Qingtong must have learned some of the secrets of the land of the deceased immortals from the treasure map and mastered them. Otherwise, how could she become so powerful? This wasn't her true strength, nor was it because she was very powerful. It must be because of the treasure map. It was the same for the pure-blood immortal jade bone in her hands. It must be because of the treasure map. If she could get the treasure map, she should also be able to obtain this ability. As for Luo Qingtong, she was just lucky. Thinking of this, when she looked at Luo Qingtong again, her eyes were filled with deep malice and jealousy. Elder Hua. She looked at the Celestial Palace elder and said, she must be relying on the treasure map to be able to do this. I can see her position clearly. Her invisibility is useless in front of me. As long as she can't hide in the fog of the land of the deceased immortals, she won't be a threat to you. Later I'll show you her position. She won't be able to escape. Fang Jingyu looked in Luo Qingtong's direction with a sinister expression. Did she think she could force them to retreat like this? Did she think that killing those sage emperors would scare them off? What a joke. Without the obstruction of those sage emperors, it was easier for her to see Luo Qingtong's figure. In her senses, the light emitted from Luo Qingtong's body was extremely bright. In this dark fog, it was as dazzling as a lantern. Luo Qingtong was like a live target. How could she deal with the Celestial Palace elders beside her? She was bound to lose. It was laughable that Luo Qingtong was still so arrogant, telling them to wait for death. She was going to see who would be the one waiting to die. Luo Qingtong, I'll keep those punishments for you. When the time comes, I'll let you have a good taste of them. Fang Jingyu's eyes were cold and vicious. Luo Qingtong smiled when she saw this. Interesting. Did Fang Jingyu think that she could come and go as she pleased in the graveyard of immortals because of the treasure map she'd obtained? Luo Qingtong's lips curled up in amusement. Chapter 2014. When the Celestial Palace elder heard Fang Jingyu's words, he immediately thought of the treasure map. He was very excited when he thought that Luo Qingtong's ability might have come from the treasure map. If he could get his hands on the treasure map, wouldn't all the abilities that Luo Qingtong possessed belong to him? Including the ability to walk freely in the land of the deceased immortals, as well as the ability to kill blood-rotting corpses and obtain the pure-blood celestial jade bones. As the Celestial Palace elder thought about it, his fear of Luo Qingtong disappeared. Instead, he looked at her as if she were a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. His eyes were full of desire and greed. "Hey, come here. Give me instructions." As the Celestial Palace elder spoke, he pulled Fang Jingyu in front of him and let her hug him tightly. Then his figure suddenly swept up and rushed in the direction of Luo Qingtong. He was sure that with Fang Jingyu around, Luo Qingtong would not be able to sneak up on him. As long as he could catch the other party's location, given the other party's strength, he would sooner or later kill or capture her. At that time, wouldn't the treasure map be his? As for the pink pig beside the other party, it could stop him for a while, but would it be able to stop him forever? Sooner or later, all of them would fall into his hands. As the Celestial Palace elder thought about it, he suddenly released his aura and attacked Luo Qingtong. The aura of the Sage Emperor realm was so vast that it almost shook the heavens and the earth. The surrounding fog was stirred up, forming a very sharp and terrifying vortex. The sound of the wind cutting through the vortex was as sharp as a knife. Boom, boom, boom. The Celestial Palace elder's aura was extremely strong. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes as she watched him attack her. In her eyes, a blood-red vortex spun violently. She had already practiced the moves and the power of this Celestial Palace disciple's moves, as well as the changes in the later stages of his moves. Luo Qingtong held the life and death yin-yang sword horizontally in the face of her opponent's ferocious attack. Annihilation. Luo Qingtong's attack blasted out. In the blink of an eye, the white light rushed forward like a waterfall. As soon as the light of annihilation came into contact with the mist surrounding the fallen immortal land, it reacted violently. The surrounding light was constantly being melted and transformed, strengthening the power of this annihilation attack. As the annihilation sword light grew, it suddenly evolved from a crescent moon to a full bowstring. Boom! When this ray of light collided with the attack unleashed by the Celestial Palace's elder, it surprisingly annihilated and neutralized his attack. Bang! The attacks of the two sides collided and exploded in midair. Fang Jingyu and the Celestial Palace elder had imagined that Luo Qingtong would take advantage of the terrain of the fallen immortal land to deal with them and escape in a panic. Everything was in their imagination. Luo Qingtong was standing right in front of them and fighting them head-on. Luo Qingtong's strength was tyrannical. Chapter 2015. What circling around? What dodging? What using a treasure map to obtain victory against those Saint Emperor Realm experts? None of that existed. If Luo Qingtong had used such a move before, those Saint Emperor Realm experts would not have been able to withstand it. Why would she need to use the terrain of the Graveyard of Immortals to circle around? She was doing this to hide her strength. Bang! The Celestial Palace elder was forced to take a step back by the shockwave from the explosion in midair. His face was aghast. The strength displayed by Luo Qingtong's attack was not inferior to his at all. How could she be so strong? The girl who he thought would be an easy target had suddenly turned into an expert who was not inferior to him at all, resisting him with the strength of a Saint King Realm expert. The Celestial Supreme Palace's elder felt as if he had been F***ed. Fang Jingyu's expression was even more incredulous. She had previously vowed that she would help this Celestial Palace elder to prevent Luo Qingtong from escaping. In the blink of an eye, she realized that she was of no use at all. Even if she did not use the terrain of the Graveyard of Immortals, Luo Qingtong's strength was not inferior to the Celestial Palace elder at all. Ah! Fang Jingyu screamed in a shrill voice, unable to believe all this. As for the Celestial Palace elder, he quickly flew back the moment he retreated. He could see that Luo Qingtong's strength was not something that an ordinary Saint Emperor Realm expert or even a Saint Emperor Realm expert could deal with. The fact that the other party was able to kill the bloody corpse wasn't due to luck or the treasure map. It was due to true strength. No, he had to leave this place immediately and report this matter to the sect so that they and the people of beast-taming King Valley could deal with Luo Qingtong. Even if he could not kill her, he would still be rewarded handsomely if he could pass on her various abilities and situation to the sect. However, just as he turned around, a pink little pig's trotter appeared in front of him. With a wave of its hoof, it forced him back. Hey, don't worry. What's the hurry? Weren't you quite capable just now? Continue. Little Pig's hooves stirred up the wind as it stomped on the air, its face filled with a smug and adorable expression. What did these guys take them for? A dish? If he wanted to eat he would serve, but if he didn't he would withdraw? What a joke. With Grandpa Pig here, let's see who can leave. Did he think that helping Luo Qingtong was fake? Only then did the elder of the Celestial Palace realize that the situation was not good. Luo Qingtong had clearly planned this out. She would first kill those Saint Emperor Realm experts, then deal with him and Fang Jingyu. The girl's strength was not as weak as they thought. She had deliberately concealed her strength in order to make them lower their guard. It's over. His heart turned cold. He hated Fang Jingyu to the bone. Originally he was a little hesitant when he saw that Luo Qingtong was able to use the terrain of the fallen immortal land to kill a group of Saint Emperor Realm experts. After all, if Luo Qingtong continued to hide in the fog of the fallen immortal land, even if he was stronger than her, he might not be able to do anything to her. If other evil beings were attracted, it would be inevitable that both sides would suffer losses. At that time he wanted to leave. It was Fang Jingyu's words that gave him the confidence to deal with Luo Qingtong. Chapter 2016. The Celestial Palace's elder was furious as he thought about this. He pulled Fang Jingyu off his body and threw her at Little Pig, Ah! Fang Jingyu's face was filled with terror. She screamed hysterically. She dashed towards Little Pig. Little Pig looked at her with disdain. Ugly woman, Little Pig said and slapped Fang Jingyu away with his hoof. The latter instantly screamed in agony as he fell heavily to the ground beside him. Coincidentally, the spot where she had hit was right in front of the corpse. Fang Jingyu screamed even more miserably when she saw the corpse's hideous face. When Fang Jingyu was slapped away, the Celestial Palace Elder rushed out from where Little Pig was. However, it was too late. His fate was sealed the moment Little Pig blocked his path. Annihilation. Luo Qingtong's sword light blasted out again. It rushed toward the Celestial Palace Elder. When the Elder sensed the attack, he didn't even turn his head. He only attacked backward. He had already rushed out. Luo Qingtong couldn't stop him even if she attacked again. Luo Qingtong, don't be so smug. Before he could finish his sentence, he screamed miserably. Several types of flames suddenly flew out from the attack and blasted his body. Ah! It turned out that Luo Qingtong had added the power of the soul of 1,000 flames into her annihilation attack. Although the annihilation attack was neutralized, the power of the soul of 1,000 flames was still there. As soon as the power flew out, the Celestial Palace Elder's body was covered in flames. The color and power of these flames were different. They weren't easy to extinguish. Their combined power was very powerful. In just an instant, the Elder of the Celestial Palace was burned to the point where he was rolling on the ground. A series of cries of agony burst out from his mouth. Then Luo Qingtong shot out a ray of annihilation light, which made him spit out blood and fall to the ground. The Celestial Palace Elder's body twitched. The power of the soul of 1,000 flames on his body didn't last long. It burned out quickly. But now he didn't have any strength to resist. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and walked toward the Celestial Palace Elder. She waved her hand and took something from his body. Sensing her actions, the Celestial Palace Elder's eyes widened. No. His voice was filled with fear. But before he could finish his words, Luo Qingtong knocked him out. Fang Jingyu screamed miserably. Her face. She fell on the corpse and couldn't get up no matter how hard she tried. Her whole body was filled with the stench of rotten corpses and blood. Because she couldn't get up no matter how hard she tried, she fell on the corpse and had intimate contact with it several times. It was so irritating that she wanted to vomit. Ah! She screamed shrilly and Luo Qingtong walked over directly. With a crack, she dislocated her chin. Are you done screaming? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at her. Fang Jingyu's face was filled with hatred and fear. Luo Qingtong, you better kill me. Otherwise, I won't let you go. Absolutely not. When Luo Qingtong put Fang Jingyu's chin back in place, she screamed shrilly.